Everyone, welcome Dave Bennink.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna turn my video off here in a second, so that I can save bandwidth. I'm in a truck at a job site like 500 yards from the Canadian border. So yeah, I'm Dave. Well, how about this? Deconstruction Dave. I'm definitely stuck with that name now. That's stuck. Deconstruction Dave. So, um, and yeah, let's get rolling on this. I'm with so many different groups. I'm like, what am I with? I'm the New York City Circular Construction Network, Reuse Innovation Center, all this stuff. So let's just go with this. Let's start with this because it's a good starter. So one, I like numbers. I, was hearing from the EPA that the average American wastes about 4.9 pounds of waste every day for their whole life. And that adds up to about 135, 136,000 pounds in their life. And then I weigh a lot of the homes, that we deconstruct. And it turns out the average American home weighs about 135 to 136,000 pounds, not including the concrete. And what does that mean? That means that demolishing the average American home is equivalent to a lifetime's worth of waste. And so when you tell a client that, that's really impactful a lot of times. They don't like hearing that. If they're going to deconstruct or they're going to demolish their home, and that means their entire lifetime's allotment of waste is all in one day. And that's really not fun. So that's just something where we start with, and it gives you kind of a feel for like, why am I dedicated to this work? Because when you save thousands of homes and you've saved thousands of lifetimes worth of waste, you start putting it into terms that you can understand, because 100 million pounds is just, that's where, when we stopped counting, by the way. And but we did count. Hey, we're at 101 circular businesses as of today. We just helped a new business get started, a circular business that's going to build structures out of our materials. So that's number 101. It's good news. So I get to do a lot of fun things. I get to do the kind of things you might talk about or wonder about or hope that would happen in the future. I'm doing it now. Yes, we take buildings apart and we sell the parts. And sometimes we take the buildings apart and we sell all of the parts, from the structure. We sell kits, we turn buildings into kits and then they are then reassembled somewhere else. So we get to do fun buildings like this you see on the screen here. These are Lincoln logs for adults. These are cedar timber, interlocking timbers that was a kit from the 1950s and 60s, and you'd buy this and they would deliver it and you'd build it yourself because you can figure out Lincoln logs, right? So people would do that. And we get the honor of taking them apart, labeling all the parts, and then seeing that they get reassembled somewhere else once again with energy upgrades, I might add. So I love that we have 5 different focus areas. One of our 5 is historic preservation, affordable housing, equity. We have lots of different things that we focus on, the environment, obviously, and this is us, taking apart a building, historic, home that is hard to relocate it. So, disassemble it into sections and put it back together somewhere else. This is a barn that we're doing. I mean, these aren't the commercial jobs that you might think of, or be associated with yourself, but I'm just giving you some fun examples of stuff that we get to do. Where this barn turned 100 years old last year, and we are about to start it on Tuesday. So it's a building where we will disassemble it in panels, like we panelize buildings. By the way, I don't think that's in the dictionary, panelization. but I'm going to make sure it gets added because we basically turn buildings like this into panels. We save intact walls, we save intact sections of roof structure. Those are reused intact. We don't have to take them apart. You don't have to put them back together. And it assists people in building affordably and quickly, and it helps preserve all of the materials so that this structure you see on the screen, close to, I'd say 99% of it will be reused in when it gets rebuilt. So it's fun to be able to do that, to say, yeah, when you start throwing around the words zero waste, and I thought I heard that you had a focus on zero waste and historic preservation and things like that. So that's why I'm trying to touch on some of these topics. So I decided that I couldn't wait for everyone else to figure out how to do the right thing. I was trying to convince people, and I said, you know what? Why don't I just do it? Why don't we just start building buildings? I mean, we have the building materials, right? And so we don't build large structures. We build things that are usually under a certain size for building code restriction reasons and things like that, little sheds and things. But it's our focus has switched recently to how can we design our own buildings in how can we design them for disassembly so that when our buildings someday are disassembled, that it will be so much easier, and material passports or a set of instructions on how to build it, but also how to disassemble it. Well, I guess we're often the ones building it, but sometimes we sell people kits, so we have a set of instructions on how to build it, and or some we want to highlight some suggestions, like bolting things and screwing things, but not not disassembling the whole thing, not putting it all, having to reassemble it all either. So there's lots of advantages to the way we are doing this. And we're hoping someday that some of these techniques that we get to play with will be helpful for the construction industry, that maybe something could be learned from these techniques. But I'm certainly learning a lot. This image you see here is somebody asked for a farm stand. They have a small farm where they grow flowers and have ducks, and they wanted to have a farm stand. So we built them one out of existing panels. So like the floor and the walls of this structure we didn't have to construct them. They were already constructed. That's building 236. So we're on 238 right now. All of these things that we're doing are, maybe ahead of the curve for our industry. But also we've learned a lot from having 250 clients that have reuse businesses. We've learned a lot from that. We learned about things that were working and not working, and we designed this Reuse Innovation Center concept to basically help the circular economy and frankly help it work, and then but also everything we're doing is trying to help the circular economy interface with the built environment and the building industries and things like that. So we've been pretty successful. We do a lot of projects out of the Reuse Innovation Center: hospitals, sports stadiums, high schools, medical centers, shopping malls, whatever, apartment complexes. It's not like we deconstruct a sports stadium, but it doesn't mean we can't have a role in it, right? Like where we're saving something. And what we've done is essentially we've come up with this collaborative approach where we have 10 businesses, 10 circular businesses, all working in a synergistic way all being complementary. They're not really competing with each other, they're really completing each other. And so some of them take buildings apart, some of them put buildings back together, and some of them repair or recycle or remanufacture. So we have all of that going on, not necessarily in the same building, but in the same effort, almost like a business cooperative. So that's fun. We're hoping to bring that idea to New York City, and where I was asked to help with a large project, the city's flagship circular construction project, somewhere in one of these buildings. I don't know where it is. Anyway, so I was asked to help with that, and and the first thing was, it's like, oh, okay, let's start with an easy one. It's only 500,000 square feet, you know, so why that's easy. That should be good. Let's make that our first project. So, but anyway, I realized that we needed something more in the city. We needed something more for projects like that. And guess what? There are more than one project in New York City. So I realized that it would be, you know, I designed this New York City Circular Construction Network, and what that is, and I'll talk more about that in the next slide. But just to give you a sense of it right now, the network currently has 16 structures that we're looking at. We're looking at a project that might add another 9, so we would have 25 total structures. The combined construction budgets of those projects is about $3 billion. But one of the numbers that I'm really focused on is the total at risk of disposal is 100 million pounds. That's the weight of those 16 structures, which is a lot. And a lot of that is concrete, and I'm not sure you could say that's at risk of disposal, technically, but it just gives you an idea of the scale of how things are going and what we are trying to accomplish there. So I'll give you an example of this, you know, collaborative approach that is the network. We have one project, and they have several hundred dorm rooms. The dorm rooms have furniture in them, and the furniture is at risk of being disposed of. So, well, that's not good. But we have another project in the network, and they are building out dorm rooms. They are adding dorm rooms. So is anybody seeing a connection point there? Like, we have furniture going out, we have the need for this exact same furniture, and we're hoping that this is like one of those home run moments where these materials get repurposed in a new setting. This is solid oak furniture. A lot of the materials in it are solid oak. So this isn't inferior furniture. This isn't something that I believe that we would, you know, pass up to get something new in its place. So one thing is that the group that needs the dorm room furniture is likely, let's say that it ends up they source this furniture at 33% the cost of new furniture. That's a savings. Now, they might blow a lot of that savings on storage, but I wanted to say, because I'm guessing somebody's going to say, what about storage? And they're going to be okay, because if they can save that much up front, I think we're going to be all right. Now, the owner of this building that currently has the furniture, they're looking at a 50% cost reduction of throwing it out, right? Let's throw it out, okay, or we could sell it to this other project, and actually, even with the labor and everything included, we're going to, even if we gave it to the other project, we'd be better off, I think. But you have those percentages, but of course, 100% circular. So if we can save it from one project in the network and provide it to another project in the network. That's my vision for the network. By the way, we go through each building. Sorry, this is very colorful. Maybe it's too colorful for January, but I'm sorry, that's what it looks like. So here's an audit, a spreadsheet giving you kind of a sense of one of our projects, and the network is a library in Brooklyn. And we went in and found, we identified all these materials and photographed them, and quantified things, different things about, like, well, what does it weigh, and what kind of diversion percentage could we expect, and what kind of value do these materials have? What you could say, what is a low value, a high value? Well, those there's so many different values to materials depending on what environment you're selling them in, that we have to try and give some kind of range of what things are worth. And also, finally, labor, like how many units could be, because, by the way, if you hadn't noticed from the hard hat earlier, I actually do this work in addition to talking about it. So we kind of know what it takes to get things out of a building. I think that, yes, one labor hour can produce this much diversion. And so when we do audits for the network projects, we give a lot of detail, and it's not just numbers. We're giving strategies, suggestions, and coming up with customized approaches to save this material. So this is not a promotion, by the way. I'm not trying to promote what we're doing. Let's see. So the New York City, the network is a connection point for people, projects, and practitioners. And so we have people involved, like sustainability professionals. We have projects, like we have our 11 projects with 16 buildings, right? And we have practitioners. We have those, the people that have a reuse store, or they do some sort of recycling. And what came out of this is a directory that we hope will become available for the New York City area, a circular business directory that is focused on built environment. And that would be available through our website, so that you can enjoy that resource. Maybe that's something that will be helpful for you and your projects in the area. So, but essentially, we're connecting all of these things. We're trying to get different projects to source materials from each other. We're trying to take as much of the construction budget out of the linear economy and place it in the circular economy. And that's an important point for y'all. When you think about your budget is a restriction, and the schedule is a restriction. Those are things that we fully understand after I'm starting year 33 now. But the thing is that the budget is a restriction, but it isn't limited to just the linear economy. And that's where people often kind of go off track. They think that the circular economy might cost more, or they don't even realize that they're investing in the linear economy. They're really investing in a system that results in trash and waste. So we're trying to offer an alternative to that. Final slide. We could use some help. If anybody on the call today has projects in the New York City area and wants to add them to the network and be able to access the inventory, which currently sits at about 10,000 items. There's about 10,000 items.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So there's about 10,000 items in our standing inventory, right? These are buildings that are still in use. So it's not like we are tearing them down tomorrow, but they are going to come up for, removal. at some point, and then they'll be, removed from inventory, where other materials from other newer buildings, newer to the network, they will be added to the inventory. So we're hoping to have, or we're planning to have, a materials exchange that is just for New York City area projects. We are planning to have a website with the directory on it. We are planning to have a material wish list, which is a page where you would go to record demand, right? Like, I need a spiral staircase. So we have a page for that. And then we will keep an eye out for spiral staircases. And but on the flip side, we have, we'll have 10,000 items available. Maybe none of those items are spiral staircases. So you end up recording spiral staircase. So I'm sorry, this is a lot, but that's the gist of what we're doing. To make this work, we need people to participate. We need demand to be increased, and we have different kinds of demand, but demand from projects is a really effective way. I think it's something where architects and engineers and building owners and sustainability consultants and whatever can feel empowered to try and save some of this material directly from one site to their site, or they can just go to the partners that are on the list, the members of the network that are in the directory, that have stores, that have material available as well. So but anyway, that's it. I don't have any idea how much time that took. So
It was perfect. Thank you.
was it? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And like, I feel like we're all captive audience. We are the people probably who are going to have so many questions, and it was not too much for us. So thank you for sharing all that you did and what you're doing. And so with that, we can open it up for questions.